Blessings and wholeness, light family. One love. What's up? Jesse Tree here. Hope you are having a beautiful day. Beautiful Buddhas. Hope you are integrating the light codes that are coming in off the sun, the changes that are happening internally and externally. Wishing you all the blessed today. Welcome to another episode of Juicing with Jesse. Gonna be joined by Nabiha today. I don't know if Jerome will join. Never got a ping back from him, but he came in last time. I didn't even know he was here. For some reason Instagram won't show me when there's 3 people in the live. So whatever the case. Anyway, what I want to share with you today is a couple things. A juice recipe, a nut milk recipe, what I'm doing for natural tattoo care after my recent tattoo, and also Celestial Ross 777, loving your music, brother. Hey Atlas, what's up, brother? Good to see you there, family. One love. Enjoying beautiful weather today. We had Imbolc on the 1st and the 2nd. If you don't know what Imbolc is, it's a Celtic holiday celebrating the midpoint between solstice and the equinox. So we're almost to spring. We're a little more than halfway to spring. And as soon as we hit Imbolc, the weather changed here. So Imbolc is characterized by, the worship is kind of, or I wouldn't say worship, but the recognition or the intention and mindfulness is around natural time, the coming back of the sun in the form of the goddess Brigid, who is also the goddess of like poetry and blacksmithing and sort of creativity in general. So it's like this creative energy is starting to rise as the sun is coming back. Give thanks, yes I, for the new day and the new energy. And I think 2025 is going to be a year of total transformation. I think we are actually all moving to be light beings, to be breatharians, and to go through rainbow body transformation as we're like going through these trials and learning breath work and learning, the ways to integrate these light codes through, grounding and sun gazing and meditation. Hey, there's my sister Nabiha. I think Nabiha will be joining soon. I wanted to also, so it's this whole thing of natural time. It's a good time to observe and to sort of create with intention. And I want to show you some of the projects going on here. This space is where I would like to host the first American pranic retreat, sort of like they do with the European retreats, where it's kind of Nabiha and I and Jerome have been dream building this thing for a while, of international teachers of breatharianism joining physically or through Zoom, creating a space over here. This is some of the works. So you can see behind me this that big pile of gravel. That area back there, we'll get a little bit closer. This is where I'm going to set up my Mongolian yurt. So I have a Mongolian yurt that's being housed in my cob dwelling right now. And we're going to level this area out, create a deck, set up a Mongolian yurt, and we'll be able to have retreatants come out here for herbalism retreats, for pranic retreats, for yoga, breath work, all the things. And looking forward to opening the place up, to inviting more family in to practice the arts, the internal arts and land skills, land arts. And so Nabia says, finding a spot in the house. My niece is everywhere. So she's going to join us momentarily. I think she has some herbal questions. I want to be open to those. on these Juicing with Jesse lives. But just want to do a little show and tell here. Here's the Cobb cottage, so this will be one of our Airbnb units. And then out here's kind of fun, because this is sort of the campus. Out here we have this area. Here's where we have a fire circle, and I'm going to cob all this in, and we have a Cobb Orno and Lorena stove for people cooking, camping and cooking. And then we have here a bed of Jerusalem artichokes. So those are good survival food, but they also, the stems build the soil, related to sunflower, so it'll take heavy metals out of the soil. It's where my buddy Callan camps. He stays here most of the year, but during the winter he's not. And we have this garden spiral here that's planted out with beans and stuff last year. And this will be the bathhouse here that we've been building. So there'll be a composting toilet and kind of like a hot tub, solar heated hot tub. And we'll also do like cold plunge horse trough out here, so people can do, sort of hot tub, cold plunge, cook, camp. We have the food forest down here, all full of, there's like apples and plums and peaches and apricots and stuff. So the thought would be, sovereignty, land arts, pranic living, and herbalism. So, sorry for getting those tweets. I'm getting notifications. I forgot to turn off my notifications. Let me do that real quick. Family. I'm going to take you in and we'll start this recipe while we're waiting for Nabiha to come. Check out my rock collection. My wife and I love stones. There's magic in stones and energy healing in stones. So remembering that about breatharianism, it's like getting all the energy medicine from everything: the sun, the bare feet on the earth, the crystals and the stones, the works, music, there's energy all around us. And it's about cultivating energy, managing your energy more than it is about fasting and not eating, though that's definitely a massive part of the path. Check this out. For in bulk, there's a traditional thing that you make. I made this for my wife. This is called bannock. So it's basically, I made it gluten-free vegan. They're always gluten-free, but if you make it with oats, it's basically like an oat scone. With oats and butter and stuff, I use coconut oil and plant milk instead of milk, and orange rind and rosemary. Rosemary is a good herb to use this time of year, warming up the digestion, warming up the system, starting to get circulation going as we're moving into spring. Now, it's good to wake up the body, good to do a cleanse. If you need to cleanse, hit me up. I'd love to run you through a juice cleanse or a superfood heavy metal detox. Also, if you're interested in a jab detox, I have a basic protocol that's very, very helpful. Anyway, so today's recipe, super simple: watermelon juice, one of my very favorite. There's benefits to working with greens, and there's benefits to working with fruits. And there's this big hubbub in the raw community is, juice better with greens or fruits. I do both, because the greens detoxify, nourish, and you need those things for like your bones, and your teeth and your hair and stuff. The minerals are in this watermelon is full of minerals, wonderful minerals for the body. And this is one of the few things that I do just by itself. And I do straight fruit juices, but primarily I do a blend of greens and fruits. And that way, the fruits are more astringent, detoxifying, alkalizing. The greens are alkalizing too, but there's sort of the dual benefits that you get if you combine them both. I sometimes throw the peel in too, but not today. I was so excited to find a watermelon, and this is unseeded. You know, it's like I prefer to have seeded, of course, but I make the best of what I got. You know, and that's what I suggest to people out there. If I were stickler about seeded watermelon where I live, I would only have it in basically August. You know, okay, here comes Nabiha. Let's see, what's happening? Yes. Hey.
Hello. I'm in the closet.
You're in the closet. Oh man.
I couldn't find any place, like it just sounds everywhere.
Yes. Yeah.
Sounds everywhere. So how are you? I saw you juicing watermelon.
Juicing some watermelon. I'm gonna turn off my music so I can hear you better. I was jamming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, juicing some watermelon and just, excited for spring, getting the projects going on the land,
Nice.
pruning fruit trees, and working to get the yurt going. Sure.
I saw you walking.
Yeah, just walking around the land and showing off the bathhouse and where I'm going to put the yurt and stuff. And excited to do retreats together with you, have you out and have a place for you to stay and visit Jerome and the family, and just like jam by the fire and look at the stars and do qigong
That would be nice.
in the desert. And
That would be nice.
yeah, go to a hot spring, some stuff.
Nice. I look sleepy, huh? Everybody. Oh my God. I was waiting like 20 minutes before our live.
Uh,
I sat down, and if I sit down for too long, I fall asleep. So I fell
mm.
asleep, and then I woke up while my niece were doing my edges. I don't know what she did. And then my alarm went off, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm going
Oh man, never feel any
live!"
pressure, sister.
Oh
If you need
no, no, no,
to
no,
sleep and
no,
just yeah.
no pressure at all. It was just like how it
Okay,
happened.
all right.
And then I
Well,
had to find a spot, and then I ended up in the closet. But yeah, here we are. Just forgive me if I have to wake up.
yeah,
I'm still waking up.
yeah.
Yeah.
I find the same thing. Is like I have so much energy until like I sit still for a minute, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
usually just going, with all the things. But I, it happened to me a couple times over the last week, and I rarely get to rest. But the last week or so, I've had an opportunity. So, I sat down and I think it was just yesterday morning with the cat to sun gaze, and it was so peaceful. I'd already gotten up, meditated for like an hour and stuff, but the birds were singing, the cat was purring, and I just fell asleep,
Yeah.
and it was delicious. It was wonderful. It was perfect, but you know,
The body tells you, the body knows.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think rest is very important, really.
I
Like I don't know how
think
much,
I think it's
the
good.
8 hours sleep. I don't know how much I agree with that, but I think rest is very important.
I think to be restful, to be relaxed, doesn't necessarily mean you need to be asleep or laying down or sitting down, but to be in an inward way, be relaxed.
Yeah.
And that's the
I find
best way
it through
to.
meditation. Yeah.
I think that is like sort of the crux of the breatharian path.
Mm-hmm.
Is to develop that. I saw this quote this morning on the rising that just really, really like rung with me, and it was a Rumi quote, and the
Mm-hmm.
quote was, "When I chase what I want, I'm full of anxiety and pain, and when I'm peaceful in my place, everything comes to me with ease and without difficulty, without pain, you know. And
It makes sense.
it's totally, it's that thing everybody knows, but it's easy to know and hard to do, you know,
Yeah.
in the modern age. And in any age, it's like this whole practice, you know, to
Yeah.
do
I
the
think
most simple thing. Like,
we
like
are like, yeah, we are wired to. I think Daniel and I had actually a conversation because we had our Pronalulia call a little bit earlier today.
oh
We
yeah,
changed it to Mondays.
I
Yeah.
got catch those.
Yeah. We have another one now in 2 hours, I think.
Oh,
So I had to make
I'll
two.
try
Well,
to make it.
yeah, it's okay. You can catch one of them whenever you want to catch,
Yeah,
if you want to. uh,
I do. Just yeah, running all the time. And
yeah. And yeah, we were talking about how why we choose suffering, right? Like when like I know how certain food makes me feel, but I even call it like, oh, I'm choosing suffering, right? So when I choose certain food that I know would give me some consequences,
Mhm.
I'm like, oh yeah, today I chose this, even though I know I still
Yeah.
choose it. So
Mhm.
why? And then I said it like as a joke. Maybe when we sit around and we feel like we're too comfortable and, we feel light and we feel like, fine, then we're like, okay, let's go and find some suffering. Do we just randomly just go and find suffering? Are we
I
wired that way to just go and do it?
I think so a little bit because so here's the thing. I think
Mm,
we talked about it last time a little bit. The even cellular division is like painful to the cell. It's tearing itself apart,
mm,
right? In
mm,
separation.
mm, mm,
But that's how you get this. Um, so I think there's something inherent to life. Like if you look at like the breatharian
mm,
path, for
mm,
instance, I think every aspect of it has two sides. So there's exercise and there's rest. There's fasting and there's refeeding. You know, um, there's sort of energy work and physical. You know,
mhm, mhm,
um, there. So everything is always like this back and forth.
mm,
And I've started to just like give over, just allowing it and not judging it, just letting it be like, yeah, here comes. I ate some nut butter. Whoa, my guts now after liquid for however long. Now
mm,
I had some nut butter, you
mhm,
know,
mhm,
but I just roll with it, and it reinforces, and I find,
mhm.
but I also think sometimes there's just like the body's need and our mind is like already prejudging, even though you're gonna suffer a little bit for it. There's some way in which you need it, either mentally or physically.
Do you
You
mean
know,
we need the pain?
you need the experience.
Hmm.
To uh, I think we work on inspiration and motivation best when we have
Like,
both.
why do we like naturally just choose suffering? Like, let's say, like, even when it comes to you don't walk around and compliment yourself on all the good things that you have done all day and every day, and you're just not wired that way. But you can go and criticize yourself every day.
Hmm.
Like, why
Hmm.
why do we choose the negative? Why is it so easy to go towards the negative?
The Buddhists would say it's because our it's lifetimes of habit. We have lifetimes of habit of both positive
Mm-hmm.
and negative. That's why, like, say maybe like in high school, there was those kids you hung out with that helped you, like, show up for band practice and do good in school, and they were like your buddies and a good energy. You had other buddies that you felt good with, but you'd get in trouble with them, you'd skip class, you know,
Mm-hmm.
do other stuff, and because we have those karmas, it's that's what they say is like to be a fully awakened Buddha, a fully awakened being. That's what all Buddha means is awakened.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have to cultivate perfect habit over lifetimes so that
Mm-hmm.
you're not all of the suffering that comes is from the judging mind, you know.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Every judgment you make makes you suffer. Instead of just accepting it as it is, instead of being like, you know, even something about yourself, like I should be done with this by now. I should be successful and have a bunch of money. I should have a family. I should whatever. Like that's you judging your circumstance as negative, you know,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just
Mm-hmm.
accepting your circumstance
Mm-hmm.
as what it is, you know.
Mm.
So the more we practice that and that contentment and, you know, meritorious things like, you know, kindness and in action and, you know, then, uh, and the more that ball grows, that also is this whole thing of manifestation because what you're putting out, you're attracting, being generous, you're being kind, you're putting action forth on behalf of others. That's how you're going to like attract people doing that for you. You may
Mm.
want money, you may want, you know, attention, you may want, but what are you doing, you know, to create it? So that's that, you know, taking on that positive role of like, you know, co-creation with the cosmos of, and the transmutation of your karma, transformation of your mind over, you know, thinking over the span of lifetimes, you know, that,
Yeah.
that I'm going to just practice as best I can, you know, and do the best I can all through this lifetime. And then there's, you know, in the Buddhist school of thought, there's like the gradual enlightenment and sudden enlightenment. And
Mm.
then there's the school of thought that it's both, that maybe that gradual happens over lifetimes and then suddenly, bing, you know. But
Mm.
those are those eureka moments like Buddha had, or like, you know, maybe Tesla, or, you know, some of the people in the world who have developed themselves and their knowledge and their work on behalf of humanity and the rest of the planet, then that that you know thing of the high tide lifts all boats, you know.
Mm. Mm.
Um, so we practice that on ourselves, and we practice that on our reflections in the outer. Then, um, but it takes a while, you know,
Mm.
because we've all done mean stuff, uh, stuff we regret, you know, as beings with free will
Mm.
to create. We
Mm.
create. Sometimes we create messes, like you said,
Mm.
just to learn, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like it's like kind of like an autopilot within the human being, you know, to just
Yeah.
gravitate towards that first. Like, okay, harm yourself instead of heal yourself, and you know, go towards that. Because if you can do this, you can do the other. You
Yeah.
know, if you can create misery, you can create like
Well, the
magic.
the the misery creeps in like slowly, like little seeds, you know, of like of these judgments, these small judgments we make, you know,
Mm.
about people, our circumstances, whatever. And you practice it and practice it, and it grows. And I think it's that thing of like most of the things that feel like they're pleasurable and like they would be good are actually the things that keep us from the growth and you know, um, uh, sort of empowering yourself to go into the difficulty because you know you're going to reap benefits even though it's hard,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah.
And the hard stuff, people, it also takes a measure of courage to be real with yourself and your reflections, because, you know, whatever you've been practicing, everybody uh, expects of you, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so when
Is that
you make a change,
expectations?
they're like, whoa, you know, it shakes
Mm.
up their world.
Mm.
And, and so you have to like make the inner and outer adjustments. I mean, that's my take
Mm.
anyway
Yeah.
on what do you think about it?
I was just thinking about how scary it sounds like if everybody had some expectations about you. You know, it's scary enough to just have expectation of yourself. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you expect yourself to be in a certain place in a certain age, a certain time, or you want to achieve something and you expect that to happen at a certain time and this and that. All those expectations are, the reason to a lot of suffering most of the times. But if you just work on something
Yep.
and stay consistent with it and you enjoy what you're doing, that's the most important thing I've learned. If I'm enjoying what I'm doing, it brings me happiness. I don't have to have like all these expectations about, all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's about the moment. So if you
Everything
had
is the now
like
moment.
people, yeah, if you had like anyone outside of yourself that have, I mean, like I didn't grow up with family, right? So I didn't have, maybe they did have their expectations, but it didn't, affect me. Like I didn't have any parents or anything like that. They expected something of me. For me, my parents' thoughts about me was always like, I hope she's alive.
Hmm.
I hope she's alive out there. They didn't know if I was alive, if I was dead.
Yeah, I know.
So I didn't have anybody that was expecting something
Hmm.
or expecting me to become something or. So yeah, it must be difficult to live up to someone else's expectations because it's so much stress and burden on someone.
I think
And
most people live that way. You know,
mm,
definitely had to do a lot of work, and I'm not done. To undo that
mm,
conditioning because it's like tribal psychology. Your loved ones, your family, your community. Like in the past, if you weren't accepted by them, it's likely you would die.
yeah.
Um, because it was more necessary for us to depend on each other in that setting. You know,
Mm, mm,
and
mm,
I think there's something to that sort of politics that like brings out some of the best in human beings.
mm, mm,
Because you're not. It's the individualism has its benefits, and this understanding of we are complete to ourselves and everything. But
mm,
also benefits, equal benefits to be in community and be connected, and depend on know you can depend on people,
mm.
you know,
Yeah, human
and
relationship is so important actually.
yeah, super important. It's one of the human needs that is like just as important as like food or
I mean,
um,
like I think human connection is more important
yeah. I think it's more important
than
than
yeah, it's more important. I was just reading a comment down there. I got
Sorry,
distracted.
brother. I can't say
So
yeah.
yeah, what was I saying? I
Uh,
forgot.
yeah, I don't know. We were talking about human
One
needs,
message can have you
relationship.
distracted.
We were talking about relationship being the primary human
Yeah,
need.
yeah, 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 yeah. I would say I, I would take relationship any day rather than
Mhm.
food. Like
Mhm.
that's the true nourishment, the connection with another human being, really. Well, whether you call it good or bad or whatever relationship it is, human relationship is really important.
Well, that calling it good or bad, I think, is the trouble that
Reflection.
happens in most relationships is a projection of your own desires instead of an accepting. If you really love someone, you accept them for what they are, not what you want them to be.
Mm,
You know,
right.
and that's a different place. It's just
Yeah.
so different. And you don't even have to contrive it. You just appreciate. Like I appreciate you. You
Yeah.
know,
I,
and
I
I
appreciate you
don't
too.
even. I don't have to. It doesn't. I don't have to work at it. In any way.
Yeah.
You know, it's just natural. It's easy.
Mm.
You know.
That's how it's supposed to be. Like it shouldn't be work. It shouldn't. But I think the problem is like most people haven't worked on themselves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Relationship
everybody's looking for someone to fix them.
relationship work, I think, is actually the highest form of spiritual work because what you get is your reflection
Mm.
and in ways that you don't expect or see of yourself. You know,
Mm.
we tend to look at the good parts. It's good to be like we were talking about before, be more in the positive
Mm-hmm.
about our, self-directed thoughts, our more loving, in our self-directed thoughts, but not really attaching that value of like good thoughts or bad thoughts. Just kind of lost my train of thought, but it's like
I'm wondering why I
the
can't open
the
my
vibe
eyes.
the vibe is love,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all and now is it, and love is now. We are all love. That's what everyone is.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can drop into the now without all the mental projections, that was what we were kind of talking about, you know,
Yeah.
then we can just be in harmony. But that's just harder than because we're in samsara, because we're in this illusion, and it's confusing to the mind. We have, all this work to do on the inner that has been, neglected ancestrally for a few generations at least, and the
Mm-hmm.
stuff our ancestors before used to, be more attentive to, like their the well-being of their inner world and their tribe and their family. And, it was
Yeah. Yeah.
I, I I don't, I mean, I can't say, I'm kind of generalizing, but I think there's just a way that is natural to human beings that, in this, that's the truth of our higher self, not the ego
Mm-hmm.
self. And that ego self is a self that judges. It's important. It's like the captain of the ship that has to make important calls, you know, but
Yeah.
not to take it too seriously and to just trust is a whole nother thing. But
Yeah.
Chauncey Wells says most people are damaged as hell. I can't date the average person. Yeah, that's an important thing too. Is like just being picky about being choosy about the people that you connect with.
I
Better to
mean,
be,
I would say, whatever you attract is what you are.
yeah,
So
definitely.
if you feel like, everybody that you are attracting is like, damaged, maybe look within, sit still with yourself, fix like whatever that's broken. I would really see whatever that's within. Like the
Hmm.
world is a mirror of us. So if I walk around and all I meet is like narcissists and just like people that are just, you know, hurting me or like whatever I would call whatever. It's just my
Hmm.
inner. I need to sit with myself and I need to fix myself.
Well,
So most of the
even
time it does.
well, even not to personalize it, but to just transmute karma.
Hmm.
To be a force of transmutation, to recognize that the toxicity, the narcissism, all those things are the result of trauma and damage, and that
Hmm.
there's suffering at the root, and that if
Hmm.
we can, uh, like you said, take a good inner look, and also practice a mind of understanding, trying to see those root causes that everything that people do that is negative is the root cause is trauma and suffering
Yeah.
and hurt that is unresolved.
Yeah. And what people call relationship nowadays is a trauma bonding.
Mostly.
That's what people call relationships now. So, but instead of like bonding trauma, we can actually come together as a healed individuals, right? Because if I
Mhm.
heal my own trauma, and then I will attract someone that's also healed,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
then we are attracting each other because of now we are on a journey of healed. So now we can help each other heal each other without healing each other in that way, but by just allowing each other heal.
Well,
Does that make sense?
I
Yeah.
totally agree.
Yeah.
And I think it's mostly a mentality, but I think this thing of trauma and healing is an endless loop,
Hmm.
and that's what we actually, one of those things that we attract to and fixate, our judgments on, good and bad, you know,
Yeah.
like the trauma is just as important. The wounds often, can be a determining factor in the development of your character, you know,
Hmm.
like, like I had some wounds, like my dad and my mom split when they were I was young. I didn't have much connection with my dad. So I made it a point to spend a lot of time with my sons and be very connected with them,
Yeah.
and to exert myself in that way. And I'm glad I did, you know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's that thing of like, sometimes the wounding is the healing at the same time,
Yeah.
you know. Um,
Absolutely. But then sometimes, do we even know why we are doing it? Is it because of we were hurt, you know? Because I did the same thing, you know, my whole life was based on, like, even though I had my child, like, very early age, my whole fear was always like, if the system's going to take it away from me because I'm too young. You know, what if I do something wrong? If I move one, you know, one move wrong, it could go wrong, and then they can end up in the system. And I grew up in the system. So the last thing I wanted was my child in the system. So my whole life was based on like, okay, do everything you can so they won't end up in the system. You know, so it's like that fear again that drives you, but it's a wound from early age that that's shaping your reality. You see what I'm saying? Like it shaped my reality. Now it's like going on all the way into my children's life because of that one thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to address our fears, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
because they end up being the root of a lot of the negative karma that we create inadvertently.
Mhm.
We create trauma and uh, difficulty in ways that we don't understand. And one of those things, someone just uh, dated, and oh, it was Kyle Cease, and it really also rung true with me, is fear is the greatest attractor.
Mm.
So when you're in fear, you're powerfully pulling in exactly what you do not want,
Mm.
you know.
It's yeah, it happens.
Hmm.
It's really automatically just happened, just like we were talking about earlier, that you would just go and do whatever that hurts you. You know this thing is gonna hurt you, but you would just eat that cookie anyway, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
And it's like you actually go for it when you know something is hurtful and it's gonna have some consequences. Like, okay, let me just go and do it anyway.
That's,
You know, so
that's why people get themselves in trouble.
mm,
We're creatures of pleasure and creatures of habit. And
mm,
so
mm,
pleasurable we habituate to
mm,
do again and again. And not necessarily what's healthy, or what's good for our growth, or what's good for our families, or what's good for our neighbors or communities, but just, trying to self-soothe. And there's nothing wrong with, there shouldn't be, should be clear, we shouldn't judge that. When it happens, I think you should be okay with it. And then just like my experience is then, you know, then you move on and you get back to practice the next
mm,
day. You know what I mean?
mm, mm-hmm.
Don't let it be done, you know. Hey, there's Jerome. Hey, Jerome. You're
So you can see.
welcome to join if you want, brother. I just saw he just popped up. But
Hey, Jerome. I joined his Qigong now since
yeah,
I'm not working anymore. Yeah.
nice.
I have more time and I felt like, oh my God, I was missing out. Because doing Qigong by yourself is not the same, I guess.
I've wanted to join. I always do it by myself, but usually Jerome's timing is about when I'm waking up and meditating and just cracking my eyes, and my wife's asleep. So
Really? Yeah.
I think we're like 2 hours behind him
Oh, yeah,
here.
that's true. So it's like 8 a.m. for you? No,
No,
no.
no, no. When he does it, it's like I don't know. It's like 6 or 7. You know.
Really?
Yeah.
So we have the same time. So we have only 1 hour difference,
I'm,
you and I.
It's 4:40 here right
It's
now.
5:40 here.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm an hour behind. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I think he's 2 hours, but
No,
hey,
He's
there's
in
Michael too.
Texas, so it's like an hour, same time like me.
Yeah.
So it's like 10 o'clock, so that would be, yeah, 9 for you, I guess.
Hey, I'm gonna bring my brother Michael in if you guys don't mind, because he's wanted to join and meet you
Yeah,
guys for a long time. He's a totally rad dude.
you
I'll
guys.
bring Michael in. And
Yeah, sure.
Jerome, join if you care to.
I'm
Love
still
to have you
trying to
in
open
the
my
party.
eyes. I don't know why my eyes are not opening. Can you see my eyes are like closed? I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
Hey.
Hey,
I
Michael.
was
One love,
just
brother.
I was just scrolling and I saw it. That man, I have to get on and see what's happening.
Hey,
Nice.
glad you joined. How
Yes,
are you?
pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you too.
Yeah,
Your name is Michael?
it is. And
Okay.
you're
Nabiha?
Nabiha. Yes, I actually wanted to connect with you a long time ago. So
Oh wow. Okay.
very
Yeah,
cool.
Divine timing, right?
Exactly.
Michael.
Time was right.
Michael's great. He's on the raw path. He does yoga. He's been vegan for a long time. He's also been way into the, breatharian science and understanding.
Okay.
And so we've been having some chats, and he's a brother
Nice.
from another mother.
Exactly. Exactly. So
Nice.
what do you got? What are you guys discussing tonight?
I mean,
Oh,
we always have random conversations.
we were just talking about relationship and its power as a spiritual tool of self-development. Hey,
Hey,
Jerome, one love there. Hey, it's a party tonight.
It's a
Welcome,
party
brother. Great
tonight.
to see you.
what's going on? What's going on? Blessing,
Not
Just it's
much. Welcome,
a party
welcome.
tonight.
blessing.
This is my brother Michael Jerome.
Yeah,
Yes.
Michael's also wanted to meet you for quite a while, Jerome, I
the
think.
plank master, the plank master.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an interesting challenge, and it was. I have to tell you something very interesting about it was there are people all around the world who joined, and there was about 45 people in it. 6 guys, the rest were women,
Mm.
and women absolutely rocked.
Yeah,
There's one in Turkey now who's just keep going. She's up at 6 minutes and 30 seconds.
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah, it
Wow.
was interesting. It was an interesting exercise in mental discipline, fortitude, and sort of sticking with it. Because at some point there is the physical aspect of it, but boy, there were days we all had, which was, oh, this isn't feeling so good, right? And it was not so much physically, but it was in your mind. So
Mm.
it was a really interesting experience with the sort of, get your mind focused, get it disciplined, and things become much easier.
Yeah,
And anything
yeah,
is possible. That's the lesson I walked away with. Anything is possible.
yeah. Wow, what pointers would you have, Michael, just for people who are starting out planking? What pointers or what advice would you give for people to like stick through it?
Well, how I set this up was I actually did a beta testing in December on myself, and the beta test was you started at a minute and you added 15 seconds every day. Well, about 20 days in, it clearly became evident to me that was too much of a jump
Ah,
because that was going to
Mm-hmm.
take everybody to like a 9 minute plank, right? Which was crazy. So I bumped it down to 10. I would say here was the way I set it up for everybody. You start at a minute, you add 10 seconds, but you can do any variation of plank you would like or multiple variations during your time. In other words, you could do a forearm plank, you could do a side forearm plank, you could do a straight arm plank, you could do a side arm straight plank. So don't be shy about the variations. And a lot of people are just stuck with one variation. It was really quite interesting, especially the women again. It was like a killer to watch. It was very inspiring to watch, actually. It was really very inspiring. So I would say it's just like anything else. Set it. I'll use this as an example. Well, I don't know if you guys know, but I've been a full-time yoga teacher for 32 years now, right? And we'll talk about meditation. The thing that pulls people out of meditation is that they set an unrealistic time frame to begin with, right? They go, "Oh, geez, I have to start meditation, so I gotta sit down for like half an hour or an hour every day," right? Well, that's unrealistic, and people get in there, and I'm sure you've all gone through this. You get in there and like you begin, and 30 seconds in, you go, "Geez, what time is it?" It like it felt like 5 minutes, right? Set a realistic time. So if somebody was starting the plank or meditation or anything like that, it's consistency that really becomes the key, which is true for everything else in life, quite frankly, right? Set a time thing that works for you. And one of the things we said in the plank was if you get to a place where 2 minutes you think is your max, just stay there until you're ready to move on. right? And but as I said, it was really interesting. Well, because Marcus was on your you did a podcast with Marcus the other day, right?
Yeah,
I
Marcus
saw that.
Watts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
Marcus,
Marcus.
the
yeah,
brother.
and Marcus joined. So I was the guy who started the 40-day juice fast for three of us, right? There's Marcus, myself, and Jonathan doing this, right? So we did it. I mean, we're doing the plank thing while fasting at the same time, which I'm not sure I would recommend in the long run,
That's
but
my life,
yeah,
brother.
but it all worked out. It all worked out really well. I guess you could say you got lighter as you went on, so maybe it was easier. I don't know, but um, yeah, I would just, like anything, whether it be any practice, set a mental time frame that actually is going to allow you to
Utilize it.
succeed. Yeah,
Mhm.
Agree.
Yeah.
yeah, because
I
there's
love
been
what you
so many.
brought up there,
Sorry.
Michael, because it all connects with the breatharian arts, and you
Yeah.
could see why it's good not to force or rush this, because you have to develop the practice of meditation,
Mm-hmm.
qigong or yoga to get the body open for the prana to
Mm-hmm.
flow, practice with fasting and diet, so you don't go too much too fast, hurt yourself, um, those kinds of things, the practice with relationship and with just energy management, that each one of these things are difficult to
Mm-hmm.
master,
Mm-hmm.
and so the mastery of all of them lead to the breatharian experiences, energy cultivation, like
Mm-hmm.
epigenetic transformation, it can happen. Mental, it has to take the mental, and the physical and everything, all the learning, all the practice, and develop, like you're saying, consistently the atomic habits that build into these things.
Just out of curiosity, are any of you guys in the know, or I don't mean in the know because that means it's something new. It's not a new, but are aware or practicing or looking at heart brain coherence stuff?
Totally. Yes. For years.
Fascinating,
Totally.
fascinating stuff. And I think it also fits into this, right? Where like we've allowed our mind to govern ourselves, where it should actually be the other way around, right? Our heart should be governing our mind. And it's fascinating stuff, this heart, because you actually could bring it to gut heart brain coherence, right?
Yes.
And just some fascinating stuff and some very easy exercises to connect to something. And some of the studies they've done are phenomenal. Like, there's a 3-minute exercise you can do with this, that the participants in that study in a month increased their heart brain coherence by 29%. And you're resetting your parasympathetic system, you're resetting hormones within your body, and you're bringing yourself into this more loving place, right? To make what I'm going to say more rational decisions from a loving place, as
Yeah.
opposed to decisions emotionally from your headspace.
So, Michael, this is what they describe in Buddhism of the combination of wisdom, um, wisdom and discernment, or compassion and discernment. Buddhists equate wisdom with compassion, you know, and discernment. This sort of and Nabia and I have talked about this a lot. Actually, she always brings this up, of what's most powerful is when you have the combination of your heart and your brain. But like you pointed
100%.
out,
Balance.
your
That's
root too,
that's the
this is like
coherence,
your
right?
cosmic tree. This is your full being. If you can awaken it, and that's why I love the microcosmic orbit meditation, connecting in with these energy centers and feeling, getting connected internally with your sense awareness to the ganglion and plexus of nerves that are innervated all into your digestive system and your respiratory system and your kidneys and your liver. And this is our control center. This is like the Jedi lightsaber, your spinal cord.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating, this sense of the harmony, or which is what coherence is really meaning, like this harmony, right? And it's very funny because at the end of Vipassana practice, you would be doing a practice called metta, which is sending out love and kindness, right? And so it's the same thing, but I think I've just been playing with this for 2 months, and it's fascinating. I found the changes that I've made personally, and it's allowing this for me to observe the observer who is seeing me. And that's fascinating because it really brings you into this, it can bring you into this place of recognizing I'm not Michael. I'm something else, right? And that something else is what's moving me and observing me and experiencing itself through me. But imagine that it's experiencing itself through me by observing me. And if I can have the chance to observe that, wow, that becomes fascinating.
I feel like we're talking about the non-duality.
Well, it is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, life and its paradoxes. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's exactly that. I mean, like you are the observer and you are the one that's being observed, you know? So, no
Yeah,
separation.
I've been finding myself dropping into that in my waking time even more so than in my meditation, where I'm like,
Yeah.
I just like catch myself like almost as like this automaton, like running around doing things, you know, and I'm just
Mm.
watching myself, like I'm present, you know, I'm mindful and aware and in my body and grounded,
Yeah.
but I just see that it's just like, it's not really me. It's like all my activity, my speech, my work, everything is just like something that has to flow through, you know,
Mm.
and it's fun to release and relent into that. And I think that's the space, you know, that where we drop into that heart rate, you know, control of your heart rate variability, control over your nervous system, your digestion, you know, to not be a victim of all the stimulus going on, you know, the politics and the, you know, EMF and the you know, but to be
All happening
centered
anyway.
in our
Right.
inner being. That's your place of strength and protection, and where we emanate and create a different realm of existence.
Yeah. It allows you to be in the pause where you're divorcing yourself from the subconscious ruling you.
That's
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
journey, right?
Yeah.
That is the
Yeah.
journey because we all just a program, you know, walking around, and it's like, how can we separate ourselves from the program?
Mm. Or recognize we are the program itself.
Yeah. Ah, I love life. You know, I don't know why people take drugs. I just think it's you can get high on life.
Well, yeah, 100%.
And all of the answers, all of the answers, all of the bliss
Just
feelings,
going
all of that.
inward, yeah. You can go on trip going inward.
And the thing about the journey inward is it ultimately allows you to express yourself more fully to those around you, which I think is the ultimate blessing because that's the ultimate expression of love,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Your presence,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
your presence is the present. If you can just be with someone, whether they're happy or suffering, or that is a medicine.
Right.
Exactly.
That's a
Yeah.
transmutative medicine.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why therapists, you know, have good, stable workers. They just listen to people primarily. You know, it's medicine to just listen and let people and be present with someone. To actually be present, not be thinking about what you're going to do later and like, you know, but to be with them, you know, their emotion and what they're feeling, and like to empathize purposefully, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to try to understand and, you know, just lends your support by hearing what, because we all heal ourselves. We're all self-stable. Our reflection, a loving reflection, is an amazing way to, you know, be and transmute some of this negative, you know, karma and attachments we have, fixations in our mind towards ourselves and others. You know, it
Yeah.
it dissolves and, you know, erodes the basis of that, you know, so that you can be in more freedom, you know, Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
trying to feed my cat
Oh, good.
here.
Oh, good. And speaking of transmuting, transmuting negative energy, you know, I'd love. Would y'all be willing to do a short exercise real quick?
Yeah,
Sure.
For sure.
Would you be willing to do a short one?
yeah.
Huh?
Okay. Michael, could you walk us through one of your EFT like affirmation exercise? You do these EFT tapping affirmation
Oh,
exercises. Like I love them. I love them. Do you have one that
Come
we
on.
could do and just feel the effects of?
um, sure. I mean, I often only do them when they come to me. Like, as you know, I don't do them every day. But okay, so let's close your eyes and just begin to
Okay.
breathe, tapping basically on your solar plexus.
Okay.
And in the breath and the recognition of this tapping, I am one. I am one. I am connected. I am. I am that, which is everything. I am filled with the loving grace and energy that moves me and moves everyone else. May I stand in this place knowing that love is the answer. Love, compassion, forgiveness, standing in grace.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you
Okay.
can you tell us like I mean what is actually happening while we're doing that, you know?
Well, one of the things of adding the tapping, and tapping, of course, in its formal senses, are several different. I mean, you do the 6 or 7 spots, right? Right. But there's a biohack of just doing it here for regular thing. Then it's for me was the way this started for me was I started this about maybe 2.5 years ago, where I thought, what can I put out there? Because things were pretty negative about 2.5 years ago around the world, right? And it was like, what can I put out there that is going to bring some sense of light and joy? And that was my purpose behind it.
Mhm.
And one of the things that uh, is important to me, or call it a realization over time, is that really love is the only answer to absolutely everything, right? One, loving yourself, which is the first hurdle, because how many of us have grown up with doubts and uncertainties or not thinking we're good enough? And that goes back to the subconscious. But the subconscious mind is almost fully developed by the time you're 7. So imagine all of those stories or things that you were told as a child, from your parents or this or grandparents or society, school, whatnot. These are embedded patterns in your head. So I was looking at what could I put out there that I thought was not too heavy, that was in a sense an affirmation or an intention, adding the tapping to make this certainly more visceral, whole body experience, right? And that's where it started. And I was on a, you know, and I only did them when it came to me, and I wrote them down. Like I didn't force going, oh, I've got to do this every day, even though it's called affirmation
Beautiful.
day. So,
Could
and when they
I
come,
add?
it just it flows and it makes sense to me. And I've gotten a lot of feedback of people really enjoying them, right? And have incorporated them into their life. And I'm so grateful about that.
Yeah.
I love it, Michael. And could I add? I love seeing yours. And I'd like to add that, just touching this place, whether prayer hands or tapping, improves vagal tone.
Right.
So
100%.
just
Yes.
to touch there,
Yeah.
and you can use it as a check, on a
Yeah.
decision you're making.
Yeah.
Touch and check your heart. Like Michael was pointing out, I believe this too. Our greater mind is our heart, and we're usually trying to think, oh, should I, shouldn't I? That's all, the right brain versus left brain up here. This is the place of knowing and the place of compassion, that makes the better decisions, not based on ego and self benefit, but on what's the best for all. that unity
100%.
place. So, you know, uh, even just touching it or just saying, I am love, or, there's a million ways that you could speak to yourself, and like you were talking about earlier, Nabiha, why is it we just practice negative thoughts towards ourselves and others all day? This is a way to transmute it, is touching your heart, speaking kindly, kind words, or even just words that are positive will, like, if you do them, we talked last time about muscle testing, and you can take some fruit or something like that and hold it, and if it's good for you, you'll be strong to it, and if it's not, you'll be weak to it. And if you
Yeah, I
just
like
put
that
your own
test.
mouth and you say, I can, you're strong. If you say, I can't, you're weak. And you can have anyone test anyone that way, and you'll get the same results. So this thing of like speaking kindness to your DNA through your heart, is like very powerful, I think.
Right.
It
And the other
is.
is, how often during the day do you actually say wonderful things to yourself?
Exactly.
Right. And
Exactly. But you criticize yourself throughout the whole day, maybe
yeah,
sometimes,
there's sort of a weird irony about that, right?
Mhm.
It's like
We're
we need to be.
designed to kind of like, it's like we prison ourselves and we have to guard ourselves to never leave the prison. It's like every time you want to be free, it's like you catch yourself. Let's go and find some suffering, So I don't know why, but it's like even when you fast and you feel light and you feel like all, like lighter and you feel greater, you just want to go for whatever that made you suffering. Like people just tend to go, well, whatever they call the relapse, or I relapse to this, and why would you go for it when it makes you feel this way when you already know how it makes you feel? It's just because we seek that suffering, that little
Well,
pain.
I would suggest this thing about suffering. Most of us don't take the opportunity to actually sit
Mm,
in the suffering, like
Mhm.
to sit in the darkness, so you ultimately can. Because if you can sit in the darkness
Here.
and be present with it and realize it, that's where it dissipates.
mm,
You now have
makes
power,
sense.
and that's where the light comes in, right? And the irony is you can't have the light without the dark,
True.
right? You just can't. So
Mm,
at some point in time, you need to. I don't mean you, but I'm just saying metaphorically. We need to be in a place where you can sit in discomfort and go so deep with it that it comes down to this little tiny parcel of nothing, and that's where it goes.
Michael,
That's where it dissipates.
mm.
sorry, you got me excited. Are you familiar with Angora? I think it's called Angora. It's like a spiritual tradition from India.
You're talking about Agora.
Agora, yes.
That's
The Shiva,
that's
it's the Shiva worship.
yeah. That's
Where
where they sit on the graves and they put ash all over themselves. And, yeah, one of
the
my
whole
teachers.
idea is to go into the fear and the dark and the pain,
Mhm.
and get familiar with it, because that is your place of self-limitation.
Yeah, there's a great book called Agora by a brilliant friend of mine by the name of Dr. Robert Savoda, who was the first um, North American who graduated from Ayurveda College in India. And Robbie's a friend of mine. He was a friend of one of my teachers, and Robbie's a brilliant, brilliant guy. But his teacher, Agora, and literally, you'd go to the graveyard, you do all that kind of stuff, and it
Mm,
was like exactly to find that freedom.
mm.
All that darkness, everything that
Because the monsters that we think are only in our head.
They are.
exactly.
They are. I mean, like, whatever we call darkness and whatever, it's just a perception,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah.
whatever that's suffering for you may not be suffering for someone else. So it's just a perception, your own perception.
If you don't like
So
the
it's just
movie,
an illusion, you
right?
know? Hmm?
If you don't like the movie, buy a ticket to another one.
Yeah,
Yep. Get up and
exactly.
get out.
Or
Just
what's
change,
that other one?
change
Yeah.
the film.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do the one that fits, but that's something that a lot of people, I agree with you. Most people, it's this whole thing, in the Buddhism, once again, of like, are clinging to pushing things away, or to it, pulling, our attraction to things. And so, being at peace means being okay with it all, okay with the good things coming and going, good
100%.
with the bad things coming and
Yeah.
going,
Exactly.
because we can even hook onto the suffering and be like so into it that we're like, we can be attracted and cling to suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't,
Because it's a kind of stability.
right. And I don't mean to make light of it when I say, change the film. It all requires effort and work and discipline and consistency, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things in yoga, and this goes back to your thing about developing a discerning mind, one of the things about developing a discerning mind is in yoga, death is sitting right next to you all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you can choose to make it a friend and understand that this is just a cycle, or you can fight it. And that's not going to help.
Well, what you run after runs from you, and what you run away from runs after you.
Yeah.
Because you imagine something, nothing is running away. What would you even chase? And what would you run? Nothing is
If
actually
you just
chasing you,
let it come and let it go.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah.
mm.
It's like chase your dreams, and then you start chasing something that's not even running, right?
Yeah.
It's just, it's just perception and how we see things. And I think, this thing about, choosing the suffering or talking negative to ourselves, it's just a deep conditioning, throughout our lives. Like even in school, through our parenting and everything was like a punishment, or like, oh, if you don't do this, you go to hell. If you do this, you go to this. And it's always some type of like a reward and some type of thing. So we are used to, receiving more of the negative than the positive. So
Mm-hmm.
then we do
Like,
that to ourselves too. It's just a learned habit, because there's no kid that just do that. They never think, anything negative about themselves. Just talk to a little toddler right now. They will never say anything negative about themselves.
mhm.
They always talk highly about themselves. But
Mm-hmm.
all of this is like, ideas that are imposed on us, like since we were little kids. And then now we are on our own enemy, and now we are trying to escape our own mind. But that's not how it is. It's just like recognize that this is like layers of conditioning, and how can we just, you know, be okay with it and let go. It's not
Right.
our own, right? So
And
as
it's
long
Or
as
not
we
only
even
know,
the,
accept the conditioning, integrate the conditioning as part of your karma and learning.
yeah, I mean,
Not
like,
push away
we're
from
here
it
to
and be
learn.
like, I don't like this conditioning. I think
Yeah,
the inner work is an important part, but part of it, I think, is self-corrective.
reality.
Like if you just go into allow the suffering to instruct you,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but don't stay in it. Just let it teach you, and then you know, move beyond it.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, like, as long as we know, what kind of program do you have? Just somebody was calling me. Sorry.
not only do you have the program that you're creating or has been created by all the things you just mentioned, you also have the program that has come with you from your parents, from your grandparents, from whatever
Hmm.
these.
Yeah, the ones that are in the cells, right? Yeah,
That's
there are some fears that sits deep in your cells. Yeah.
right. But there's still a way. This is the path. This is the path of every spiritual path is to move through all, right? And I don't know. I think part of it is being able to recognize some of it. I'll use this example. I think I was probably about 30 when I realized the things I really disliked about myself were the things I really disliked about my father.
Mm-hmm.
And in that recognition, I went, there's an opportunity to change because I can see what that is, right? So I don't know. This interesting journey. The other thing is like, what if this is heaven?
mhm.
Yeah, it is though. It is heaven,
Right.
because it is
Like, what if
heaven.
this experience is heaven?
Hmm.
Then let's enjoy it.
I
Let's
love that.
let's create.
I
Let's
mean,
actively create and build it. I'm
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
it's fun to me to think about building heaven.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like block by block is, a joyous journey. He's whistling the whole while. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, why not?
The whole journey can be blissful,
It
and that's, I
really
feel like
is.
that's
All
a
we
big
are.
part of the Breatharian journey. I mean, I know for me, that's part of the goal, the quest, is this total freedom state, enjoying the journey. I know this is natural. I've touched it. I've lived it. We all have. But to develop that through habit, so that it just becomes this is just what we're all living, and it spreads. It's like infectious. When you're joyous and your soul is singing, it spreads. It just spreads. You can't help, you know.
Mhm.
So take a moment there, everybody, and think how you felt while Jesse was just describing what he was describing with a passion and enthusiasm. We're drawn to good. We're drawn to passion. We're drawn to enthusiasm, right? We
Yeah,
get, and that's a wonderful thing, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's
It's
infectious,
it's
and
like Grace. When Grace walks in the room, you know it
mhm.
almost instantly.
or
You
or dignity or integrity.
all
You
of
know,
those things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you feel it emanate. You don't have to say anything. You could
Because
see
it's all
someone
from
walking in
within.
with
yeah.
That's
an
how you feel
energy,
it. It's
and you're like,
already from
oh,
within, you know? It's
yeah.
There's that
it's a
common.
vibration.
Exactly. There's that common vibration
Mhm.
that we pick up in our heart when we are connecting with something energetically that somebody's expressing in a
Mhm. Mhm.
vibrant, light, powerful way, right? We're drawn to because what we're seeing ourselves in that energy.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
and that is the truth of us. That joy, that uplifted, naturally virtuous.
Mhm.
Not
We're
contrived.
goodness. We are goodness. We are good. We are great.
I love
We
that.
are love.
Yes.
At the very essence, in Kabbalah, the creator, which is us, we are the creator. We are all of these things. We are consciousness. The essence of that is we are goodness.
Yes. I love that. Yes, we
Greatness.
are.
Yeah.
And on that note, it's getting a little late here, so I'm going to sign off. But I'm so glad that I popped in today. Thank you so much, and I really love all the work you are all doing. It's you are spreading that light. You're touching other people with your hearts, which is what a mission, right?
Thank
There can't be anything better. So, listen, I want to thank you all. It's been such a wonderful experience here tonight, and we'll keep seeing each other, I'm sure.
you. All
Much
right.
love. Much love.
Michael,
Much
love you,
love.
brother.
All
Thank you
right.
for joining
Have
and
a good.
sharing your wisdom
All
and your
right.
heart.
Have a great one,
Awesome.
guys. Bye.
Bye.
Blessings.
Take care.
Yeah.
Well, that was great. Love Michael. Glad we got to finally connect. He's been asking me, he's like, can we get together sometime, you, me, and Jerome? I was like, and Nabiha, and I was like, I'll try to organize us. And I've just been all over the place. So
Man,
synchronicity smiled, and we all got together. So all in
we made
divine
it
time.
happen. We made it happen, yeah.
Everything with divine timing, right? We don't need to rush it. We don't need to put it on a calendar and remember the calendar. And I just think, all of these human things is work. It's
Yes,
different work. We can
I
we can
agree.
turn our internal signals, whenever it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen,
Mhm. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that
that's
was all.
the question that I think would be good. I want to respect y'all's time, and I'm also kind of running out of battery again. Actually, now that I look at it, but I want to put that question out to everyone. Like, what
What is the
would you do?
one?
Oops, if you could free yourself to do whatever you wanted and be your inner child, and have fun, and
Hmm.
I dare you to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, because that's what's going to magnetize the highest vibration benefit for all beings, I think.
Hmm.
Anything you guys want to add before we wrap up?
I'm right there with you, you know, like lately I've been doing just that, Jesse, just that.
Yeah.
And it's been, I mean, it's just been phenomenal. I've been loving it. I've been loving that energy, just getting swept up, getting whisked away, just getting, you know,
Good stuff.
taken, you know, really just taken by that energy, that creativity, that ingenuity, that innovation, just that vibration, you know?
What you are
And
building, Jerome, like Michael was saying, you know, the passion and energy that, you know, you see it in your work, the content you build and the conversations, and you just, there's so much respect around you, and it's because you have developed that self-respect and respect for others that's very beautiful, very attractive, you know, and so your model, you know, for the community, and I appreciate, you know, you and your leadership and your heart and the way you show up. And you too,
I
Nabiha,
appreciate you,
you
Jerome.
you're so beautiful in your way, and the wisdom you share in such a heart-centered way. And so I just like feel very honored to call you all my friends.
absolutely, likewise, likewise.
I love when love is being shared between two men like that. I don't know why. You don't often see it, you know, when brothers are commenting each other. So,
There's
yeah,
a
it's
lot of love. I love my
beautiful.
brothers, and I definitely love you a lot, Jerome, for sure. Good man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Much love. Much
All
love.
right, family.
Right.
So everyone, have a beautiful evening. Love you all too. Send you lots of
All
positive
right.
vibes and Reiki energy. Thank you all. Keep
Thank
doing your
you.
good work, everyone. We're going to transform this planet into a heaven like we were talking about.
All right.
All right. Be well, family. Good
Be
night.
well.